will call the August 3rd Common Council meeting to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mayor Olson.
Here.
Alderman Mayor.
Here.
Alderwoman Wilhelm. Here. Alderwoman Hanneman is excused.
Absent.
Wheat's not adopted. Alderman Barber.
Here.
Alderman Nelson.
Here. We have a quorum. Please rise, join the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda is citizens' comment period. Any citizen wishing to speak, please rise, come forward, give us your name and address, and tell us what you'd like to tell us. Any citizen wishing to speak. Mr. Lewandowski, good evening.
Leroy Lewandowski, 80 Winston Way. I hope, Mr. Mayor, that you know that I'm talking to you. You didn't appear to give me credit last time from talking to you, criticized me, but that's the way of handling things. Incidentally, why I'm here is the fact that the citizens of Franklin have found a place to do entertainment at the Rock. They put up some beautiful buildings. And yet when you go into the entrance at Rawson Avenue, which is a boulevard, the sidewalks are a disaster, both ways, the direction. And who did that? JSD, one of the engineerings, Gaffey, and our own engineer are responsible for it. And we don't get any movement to do anything different. I understand that we lost one of the engineering people, and I think we ought to get rid of the second one too. I don't like the idea that we're spending money, and I think we own that road, but the sidewalk and everything is a disaster, and I don't know why somebody don't start doing something more for it. Then there is the new road they built in for construction off of Rawson. It's so narrow that if you had a wide load on a semi-trailer, you can't get through. What was that meant for? And then if you're coming out of there, there's an island. You can't go west there. You gotta, no, you can't go east. You can go west. But the island's in the way for traffic to go through, or you have to go around to the stop and go light and make a U-turn. Now, big trucks cannot do that. I don't know why somebody would put something like that and then crowd the island, not taking that island out. And I know that's part of the county. The city should be suing these people that are devastating our facilities. I don't know, we got a lawyer and you common counsel. I don't know why you don't go after these engineering. Now, I've talked to the JSD, I've talked to the JFEF, and I know the man that's the president of that place. It is so disgraceful for us to be living in a day like this when we have not modern equipment to take care of it. That should never have happened. And I also feel bad about the fact that the city is trying to put in so many bicycle paths, walkways, and we can't even get our roads done. Who's going to take care of our roads? Our DPW can't even handle the roads. You go on South 60th off of Oakwood Road, go south, there's nothing but potholes. I got a pothole in front of my house. Nothing has been done to my house since it was built. I don't know why we want to put paths unless we get enough help, enough people, enough money. Somebody's telling me there isn't any money to do the roads. Then why are we increasing the workload of what I call the DPW, because they take care of these paths? It's a shame that we're going to go something like that. and not take care of the city roads. So I just hope that you people up here will do something better. It's a disaster to see some of you people up here. We got one empty seat. Maybe we should have all of them. Good night.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Yes, sir. Good evening.
Hi. Dan Kaminsky. I live at 9880 South 112th Street. So this is regarding item G2 in today's meeting agenda, which is a concept review for a single-family residential subdivision with 115 lots to be located west of the Franklin Savannah Natural Area. So I just wrote a couple paragraphs here, just like to read these off. As a property owner impacted by the proposed single-family residential subdivision and concept review, I would like to voice my hope that city leadership thoughtfully consider the concerns of the city development staff outlined in today's meeting packet and apply forward thinking. Quoting from the city development staff memo to Bear Development on page 79 of today's meeting packet, it is stated that this concept plan for a residential subdivision is not consistent with any of the adopted city plans, specifically the City of Franklin 2025 Comprehensive Master Plan, the post-sanitary sewer scenario for the Southwest, and the Comprehensive Outdoor Recreation Plan 2025. Additionally, it is stated on page 75 that 80%, 74 acres, of the site is currently zoned A2 Prime Agriculture District. According to the Unified Development Ordinance, Section 15-30315, this district's intent is to prevent the premature conversion of agricultural land to scattered urban and suburban uses, such as residential, commercial, and industrial uses. So, recreation use of the parcels as defined in the 2025 Recreation Plan is intended and does make sense due to proximity to the underutilized Franklin Savannah, but allowing city plans to be bulldozed for high-density residential subdivision seems premature to me in this area and would leave less space for recreation years down the road. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else? Seeing no one else rise up, excuse me, I will close the citizens' comment period. We move on to item C, approval of the regular meeting minutes of the Common Council meeting of July 20. Any additions or corrections? Alderman Wilhelm has moved approval with the correction. Seconded by Alderman Barber. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We have no public hearings, no organizational business, no letters and petitions. We move on to reports and recommendations. Item G1 is a resolution conditionally approving a two-lot certified survey map, being a redivision of Lot 2 certified survey map in Franklin Business Park, addition number 1. Is there a motion to approve? Is there a second? Is there a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion to approve signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Yep. Now the motion carries, but Alderman Wilhelm.
I hope we can get our comments in before the motions, just in case there's a change based on a comment. Not that I'm expecting it with this comment, but I know in the past, some of the areas in the business park have had conservation easements and then are amended. Is this one that can be amended in the future? So it's a conservation easement and then it's actually amended to change for development in the future? Or will this one stand?
The conservation easement on this particular parcel runs at the property line. And it's a grade difference. There's also some wetlands on the very back end of the parcel. I see no reason why this would change.
Thank you.
Okay, motion carried. Item G2 is a concept review for Bear Development. The applicant has asked us to table this for one meeting so that they can finish up on some changes as recommended by staff. So is there a motion to table to the 17th?
Second.
Nelson and Wilhelm. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. G3 is a concept review for a single-family residential subdivision with 87 lots at 9732 West Ryan Road. The Newman folks are here, please, guys. You can come up to the table if you want. Eric,
If there's a way to get the concept map up, that would be great. Oh,
Glenn, can I use your mic?
I will speak. My name is Brian Lindgren. I'm going to be speaking and representing Newman Developments. Our address in Pewaukee is N27W24025 Paul Court in Pewaukee, 53072. So, go ahead, Eric.
And Eric Obarski, I'm with Newman Developments, also same address.
I better do what I'm supposed to do here first. For those of you watching on the internet and here in the room, the concept review is the opportunity for an applicant to present us with a concept of a future development. Whether it happens or not is yet to be determined, but it's a concept. And they're here to take a comment from the Common Council on the overall feelings towards the development, but this is not a decision-making presentation, nor will there be a decision made on it. It's merely an opportunity for the developer to see if this is something that may be considered by the Common Council. So with that, guys, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate the opportunity to present the concept for feedback. It's a great opportunity we like to take to get early feedback so we can make changes as necessary, present what we're excited about. So I'll start by saying we are Newman Developments. We have developed in the city of Franklin in the past. Are currently building in Ryan Meadows, and we developed Ryanwood Manor. So we love the city, and we're excited about looking into future opportunities like the ones we have presented tonight. The first one that we have for presentation is at 9732 West Ryan Road. And this one concept is very similar to the theme that we brought forward for Ryanwood Manor. It follows R5 zoning. It had minimum 13,000 square foot lots. We look at this as a appeal, just like Ryanwood Manor, to a move up type buyer, someone who resides in the city already, selling a smaller home, looking to upgrade in one way, shape, or form, and stay in a great municipality. The gist of the design is it's just under 80 acres, 78.4 acres. We'd be looking to this, if we push forward, would require, as is noted in the planning department review, comprehensive plan changes as well as rezone. We felt that this is most suitable for a full residential use, which is why we've presented it as a full residential use. There are a fairly substantial amount of natural and wetland areas in it. Our plan as presented avoids those and uses the higher, more developable lands. We come in with two entrances off of Ryan Road and extend to the north and northwest, as you can see with the road extension that abuts the property to the west.
Let's orient people, Ryan, first. Ryan Road here is on the left side of the screen. This is the Briarwood subdivision. Highway 100 is down here, and it intersects with Ryan Road somewhere on the bottom of the corner of the dais. But this is Ryan Road. Former Alderman Mayor's home is right here. Actually, it's right here, to give you some idea. The waste management facility is over here. The proposed Strauss development and the residential is up here. And so that kind of gives you an idea where it is. Empty field here with a single family home over here. And this is Conservancy, and this is over here, Prairie Grass Preserve. Thank you. Alderman Wilhelm. So there you go.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, it does give great context to the area. This area is within the southwest of the city and is an area that is seeing growth currently and has been pegged for future growth. With the sewer interceptor running down Ryan Road, is a great opportunity to expand some of that, for more residents. Just want to address at least one of the objections that came up, or I should say comments, was that the length of Road A, which extends all the way through the property and abuts the wooded area to the west, northwest, is long. It would, in our proposal, it would terminate with a temporary cul-de-sac with the intent that maybe one day it does continue through the woods. But in the interim, it does make for a long road. We have met with the fire chief and assistant fire chief, talked through a couple options with staff. Being that this is just a concept, one of our thoughts was to provide a recreational and emergency access dual-purpose trail extending from Court E, which is the furthest to the northwest, down through the area with the storm ponds and connecting in between lots 61 and 62. So I've got it highlighted on the map, but it's also can be seen here. So, and that we've done this in other developments in the past, just to provide in the rare occurrence that emergency would block access to this the homes at the end of Road A. An additional access could be provided for emergency services. This is just it's a working thought. We've provided this in the past as a 12-foot wide path built and reinforced for vehicles could travel on if necessary. But the main purpose, 99.9% of the time, it would create a great walking loop. The HOA could maintain it, plow it, so it'd be accessible at all times. Therefore, hopefully addressing one of the concerns, and the fire chief was on board with that as well. So,
Excuse me, Brian. I will say that I did get an email from the chief indicating that he did meet and that this proposed solution is acceptable to him. So.
yeah. So other than that, presenting it, we would love to ask what the rest of the council thinks of this proposal. We think it's consistent with the demands for housing that are currently being called for within the city, and it's a logical use to provide more residential housing in this area.
Job ends there. So is that a conservancy or is that potential future development? Yes, yes.
The property to the west is undeveloped currently, other than a single-family residence. The potential for development is there. Perhaps we'll let Regular respond to it as well.
Secondary environmental corridor delineated by SewerPAC, Regional Planning Commission.
And what does that mean to running a road through there?
Well, according to the policy of the SewerPAC, it's they recommend that sewer or services shall not be extended through environmental corridor areas. So they recommend to not develop these corridors.
So in other words, that road is going to be a dead end there.
Slightly, yeah.
I'm sorry, Regular, I don't mean to disagree, but we are extending in another community, another neighborhood, services through a primary environmental corridor currently. I do believe that SewerPAC allows, and with limited impact scenarios, that services be extended through environmental corridors. However, the ultimate decision would lie here within the council.
SewerPAC typically refers or would kind of fall back to the council or to the municipality, but public right-of-way is typically allowed through environmental corridors. So it's important, there is a difference between a conservancy and an environmental corridor. This is not technically a conservancy, it's secondary environmental
Well,
corridor.
my real question is, will it be developed in the future or are you just going to have a stub of road there?
It could be developed in the future, it doesn't preclude it.
And where would you put the emergency access that you discussed with the chief?
kind of between lots 44 and 45. So it would be integral to a walking trail. It would actually look like a walking trail throughout the subdivision, but we would build that section wide enough and with enough base where it would actually sustain a vehicle on it. Circulate this. Typically, our walking trails are 6 or 8 feet wide. We'd build that section 12 feet wide, make sure the HOA takes care of it and maintains it so it's plowed in the winter. And on the off chance was needed, it could sustain the weight of a vehicle.
Okay. And what are you planning for sidewalks or trails other than that?
Well, it'd be public roadways, so we would do sidewalks per the city's requirements, and we would typically put an integral trail system throughout the inside undeveloped areas. We didn't really put that on here, but it would be a lot like our other subdivisions, try to incorporate, around the natural features of the subdivision and the layout. With all of the interior wetlands and ponds in here, there'd be a real nice interior trail system that we could design throughout the subdivision.
Okay, thank you.
Regarding the road to the side, the alternative is to put a permanent cul-de-sac there. Because in the end, with our access road or with the fire access there, a temp access, that issue is kind of eliminated. So if you plat a permanent cul-de-sac there, it forever moving forward will be a cul-de-sac. At least this does give, it's really the only westward connection. So it may not be in my time, your time, or the mayor's time, but at some point by dedicating right-of-way, it does allow future connection to the west. So that's why we like to dedicate right-of-way to property lines rather than plat a permanent cul-de-sac, because once that's done, it can't be undone.
And then is that the same for the other stub on the lower side of the picture there to the left?
Woodview Drive?
Yeah, we would improve Woodview Drive to the property line. There is our understanding, right-of-way available in the neighborhood to the east, currently unimproved, but that option to connect is real and available.
Okay.
Okay, so, well, I know this site quite well. I've walked it a few times. So on the area about the secondary environmental corridor, I believe the other subdivision next to it, the Prairie Grass Preserve, has a stub like that, but I believe it's a cul-de-sac. It's not a cul-de-sac. I'm not sure, but anyway, that, it does go into the environmental corridor on that side. But I thought there was some letter, and I remember reading it, that said once we extended the Ryan Creek Interceptor, that we sort of agreed that we would follow Sewer Pact's guidelines of not impacting the primary and secondary environmental corridors. So I'm not sure how far we're going to follow that into the future, but it sort of makes sense that if Franklin wants to save its only remaining natural resource features, which are primarily located in the primary environmental corridor, which is all of the Root River, which is very hard to develop because it's floodplain, and the secondary environmental corridors, which contain all of our waterway and creeks, and that's part of Legend Creek. And then there's Legend Creek, Ryan Creek. So all the creeks in Franklin are all the secondary environmental corridors. There aren't any creeks or water or lands that are not creeks that are secondary environmental corridors. And then the isolated natural areas are those small pockets. And that's pretty much what Franklin has left as far as keeping for natural resource features. What's significant about this area is back when Bill Carity built this on the other side, they found that there was a rare prairie remnant right next to you. And that bottom corner of your development is part of that rare prairie remnant. And I know that the sewage district was very interested in the site because I'd like to have everyone turn to page 92 at the bottom photo. And you can see the hydric soils and the black surrounding the wetland where you have your stormwater basins. So all of that shares the watershed with that very significant rare prairie area. So it would be important to keep the water quality from impacting that. And you'd have some homes with backyards right up next to that area. Now, I can tell you how difficult it is to keep people from putting lawn chemicals on their lawn, and that will go right into that rare prairie. So the lots on the far side that's next to the secondary environmental corridor up there, those lots that butt up, I would definitely would like to see a larger buffer setback from that cul-de-sac. And then the lower one, I'd like to see some kind of strict preservation standards as well, or maybe even some coordination with that property. I'm not a fan of all the cul-de-sacs. I'm typically okay with higher density. However, in this area, because of its wetness and its significance to the city, I feel like changing the zoning from the R3 less density to the higher R5 density is not in Franklin's best interest for several reasons. More school taxes, also fire department strain. We've put in our Ryan Creek Interceptor, but I think we've kind of yet as a city addressed the police and fire needs of this area. And it's not just this one, it's the two other ones that are on the concept, that we haven't really addressed the infrastructure to support all of this dense development. So I am concerned about, the hydric soils and the density and the significance of this area. Other than that, I really don't see a problem with residential here. I think it's probably a good area for that. If you could bring the lot size down, maybe a little bit more sensitive. Your emergency trail is going to have to cross that major wetland, as when you showed us the map. So that's going to need a permit, and I suppose you're going to get away with just calling it a trail, so then you could get easier permit from the DNR on that, but that's kind of, fudging it a little bit too. So,
Square foot, I mean, there's no fight, square footage. They don't care if it's a trail, a road, or a runway. It's all based on square footage.
okay.
Of disturbance.
I just know that in our ordinance, trails and roads and essential services have standards that
Yeah,
can get away with things easier, but, so I guess that's pretty much the input I have. Thank you.
Alderman Nelson, then Brian, I've got an idea for you guys for the.
Okay.
Alderman Nelson.
Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you for appearing, and I appreciate my colleagues' comments on this. I agree with them. I just would like to ask one question. What do you anticipate the average home price to be in there for once? I understand that the current market right now is pretty crazy, but what are you estimating average?
Sure, we would anticipate this to be very comparable to Ryanwood Meadows. Entry price is probably in the mid 500s. Ryanwood Manor, I'm sorry.
Ryanwood Manor,
Yeah,
mid
Ryanwood
500s?
Mid 500s and up.
550 to 750. It really, we're looking at this as being kind of moving out of Ryanwood Manor into the similar sort of product. We love the area, it was successful, and we'd like to have this be the same feel, the same size houses.
Excellent, I have nothing else. Thank you.
Here's my suggestion. Perhaps lose these two lots, reconfigure the pond, and you could run a roadway down to this spot here. Maybe. I'm doing your business for you, but that's just a thought. Anyone else? Anyone else? Mr. City Engineer.
Yes, I'll add a comment that may be worthwhile for you guys to know that's going on. So up until we just talked about this 2 weeks ago, everyone would call on Ryan Road, and I would say there's no immediate plans for a water main. If this project were to proceed, we would potentially have a large water main project that would run down 92nd Street, down to Ryan Road, and over to 112th Street. So that would be a major project next year or so. But just so you know, in the past 2 weeks, I've been answering contemplated special assessments that it's a possibility, so.
Okay, so anything else on that one, or do you want to move on to the 12200 West Ryan Road one?
I just want to say thank you, appreciate the comments. We're definitely aware of the sensitive environmental conditions, and we always do a thorough study. We've got a great consultant who's working on NRPP now. But yeah, we would like to stick with the R5 zoning of similar, just because just in general, we found that the demand for 25,000 square foot lots as in R3 is just not there. The cost to develop them is quite a bit. It goes by the amount of road frontage that we have to put in and improve. It gets quite expensive. The city has to maintain it one day. People are very much clamoring for price points and accepting smaller lots. And the appeal here, even though the lot may be smaller, green space behind almost every single lot is going to make everything feel and live a little larger than it may appear on lines on paper. So thank you very much for the comments on this one.
Okay, so with that, we'll move on to G4, which is a concept review for single-family residential subdivision, 183 lots at 12200 West Ryan Road. And again, this is a concept and a temperature-taking thing. Right?
Thank you. Yeah, we appreciate the opportunity to present a additional concept further down Ryan Road. This would be at the boundary, the municipal boundary. To the west is the city of Muskego. To the north is really wetlands, and to the east is wetlands. To the south is Ryan Road. We're really excited about this one. We submitted this concept in full acknowledgement that it does not match a current zoning district, so a PDD would be requested. We're excited about this because it's something that it fills a gap that exists in the market right now. It supplies a housing that currently is in a new form, is not available in Franklin, and has been incredibly successful for us in other municipalities. We look forward to trying to bring to the market an opportunity for really first-time homeowners with our sister company, Harbor Homes, who literally cannot build them fast enough in the neighborhoods that we're building them. And in order to do that, we need to start by creating a lot that hits a level of affordability that doesn't currently exist. So the target on these lots would be around 100,000 with a home package coming in, hopefully around 400,000. Again, a challenge would be to try to find anything new in the city or anywhere nearby, anywhere close to that price. We've designed it as such because we found really a formula that has been very successful for us in other neighborhoods by providing smaller lots but amenitizing the neighborhood in a really grand manner. Sidewalks throughout the neighborhood, walking trails, connecting streets, connecting, really importantly here, to areas to the east that are planned for the interurban trail, areas that are going to get developed and connected to major parks and give opportunities outside the neighborhood. And within the neighborhood, you'll see as we come in the entrance, a clubhouse, pool, amenity area that would be playgrounds and other recreational options for people in the community to get together, engage, entertain, and really get to meet their neighbors, as we have found this to be hugely successful in demand in other areas. That's the vision for this. We believe that it can exist, and that can be done along with the current available lots and along with our other plan we just presented, because this hits a different point in the market. With that, we appreciate any comments and feedback on this plan.
Alderman Nelson, before I get to you, you're going to be ready to go. I just want to make sure everybody's clear that this is an existing driveway. It's not a natural, an environmental corridor. This area is surrounding the house and barn and garage. This is trees, but this is not an environmental corridor. Just so everybody knows that going in. Alderman Nelson.
Gentlemen, a couple things. This is a lot of houses. This is really, really jamming a lot of stuff. With that, am I only, I believe I'm only seeing one way in, one way out? I think that's going to be a big concern with, you know, where this goes in the future, because this is, I mean, this is really highly density to the extreme, in my opinion. I like, and I believe it's a workable plan, but I think there's some things that need to be addressed, and I think, you know, I would like, you know, obviously, I'm one voice to this, but a big concern is the one way in, one way out type area. I understand it's kind of that little separate boulevard thing, but I'm not sure how that's gonna roll. Is there some sort, and I'm gonna ask the city engineer, I'm putting him on a spot if he knows this, is there a fuel pipeline underneath here somewhere that somebody called and left, dropped me a dime on that this project would be actually on top of that? If not, then it's,
I don't believe it's in this property. There may be something along Ryan Road, but I'm going from memory here. I'll have to check on it. So.
well, it's just something for the future, but I just looked at it, there's a little concern about the in and out, the density. I understand the small lots with the larger houses and where that can go. But for right now, those are just my concerns. I yield.
Thank you. Yeah,
Alderman Mayor.
Yeah,
Wait, hold on.
Am I on?
Yep.
Okay, I don't want to keep repeating, but what Alderman Nelson said is worth repeating. The one entrance, I'm not in favor of that for a number of reasons, especially given the density of this area. One way in and one way out is going to be a lot of traffic, and we're back to the emergency vehicle access as well. So that's the biggest thing I see right now at this point.
Anybody else? Alderman Wilhelm.
A lot of same comments, density. And again, typically, I'm not afraid of density. But my main concern is in the staff report, which is a very good report, very well written. Both the fire department and the police department show concerns with the density on this. And there are very similar concerns in the staff for the last concept review that I think should be paid attention to as for this one. Not following the master plan, not, you know, all these different comments that staff points out. I am not in favor of PDDs. My history with PDDs has been, there's a whole new set of rules, and then no one knows how to apply the set of rules because it's different than everything else in the city. And I've had several planners, you know, say, stop doing PDDs. It just complicates everything. So if you can do it without PDD, I would feel a lot happier with that. Again, not opposed to residential, not opposed typically to density until we address the police and fire needs out here, though. I think we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, and that concerns me. So I don't know, you know, at what point we're going to be able to solve all those problems with funding issues that cities have and trying to build and staff, and it's difficult, but we shouldn't be jeopardizing our communities so you can build us a nice development too. I think you do great work, but I want to make sure that we've addressed the community needs, not just the housing needs. So again, the connections are an issue. This one has, luckily, less, you know, the cul-de-sacs like the last one. I did not like all the cul-de-sacs at all, and I know DPW does not like to be plowing, and the amount of complaints we get as aldermen from cul-de-sacs and snow plowing. And so if you're going to be doing cul-de-sacs, I'd like to see dedicated snow where the snow is going to be end up and pushed on the cul-de-sacs, because we just have a horrible time with that. So I don't have too much else other than that. Thanks.
Okay.
thank you. Yeah, if I may respond to some of the
Sure,
comments. I apologize, I failed to mention that this was another development we did get a chance to talk to the fire chief about recently. So we had a chance to meet with him and the assistant chief and go through some of those concerns that were brought up on the report and that we anticipated hearing as well, specifically the one entrance. We provided within the packet an additional detail, just trying to show what the vision is for this entrance and how it can work. As opposed to a traditional 60-foot wide right-of-way, we would propose an 80-foot wide right-of-way. Each lane, if you will, coming in and out of the boulevard entrance is 24 feet wide inside a curb. So theoretically, two-way traffic can pass. It's not meant to do that on a normal day-to-day basis, but in the occurrence that some sort of accident would block one side or the other could still be utilized for emergency access. Once you get past this initial 200, I think it's 240 feet, everywhere in the neighborhood is accessible from two directions. So that's the nice flow within the neighborhood getting past this first area. We've, additional supplemental page shows some of the landscaping. It really creates quite an impact as you were to drive in here. Something that puts that sense of community out there that you're coming into a neighborhood that's new and special. You can see the clubhouse right as you drive in, the amenities, the nicely landscaped boulevard, and not always trying to repeat the emergency access, but we did talk about that with the fire chief as well, and he proposed, knowing that the interurban trail is going in, and there's discussions underway currently for what we have here identified as Outlot 7 as a starting and stopping point of access for the public to that trail. That would be a logical place as well for an emergency access between lots 85 and 86 on this drawing, connecting through.
Lower left-hand corner. I think there's discussions with having the trailhead in that corner, and it would be easy for us to make, I mean, we would want the trail connected to the community anyways, so we'd have a similar walking trail that we could build to a specs that could withstand the weight of a vehicle, connected to the trailhead, and also provide a secondary emergency access.
And then on your previous slide, what? It's Mark's card, I couldn't read it.
Alderman Mayor.
The previous slide that you showed with the clubhouse or something, can you just kind of explain what that is there?
Yeah, so as you come in the main boulevard entrance, there's kind of a radius of parking shown, so people who don't want to walk or bike to the main clubhouse would be able to park there. This would be a private amenity for residents of the development, completely maintained and cared for through the homeowners association. There would be a clubhouse where we have typically found the most utilized component in our single family development is bathing facilities and a large covered patio, if you will, to provide shade as well as picnic tables and things like that. A pool yet to be designed, probably with some features oriented towards children as well as larger swimming areas. Adjacent to these, playground amenity, someplace for kids to come play. And we've also had success in other neighborhoods with amenities like pickleball courts and bocce ball courts and things like that, we've really dedicated. It comes out to about 2.5 acres within this area that there's a lot of potential uses for.
We've built this
Thank
similar
you.
style clubhouse pool out in the Oconomowoc Country Village area, and it's been wildly successful, where the residents, rather than everybody having their own private backyards and their own pools and their own play sets, more of a community feel where we do the clubhouse and the pool, and the residents all come and use it.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Wilhelm.
The staff write-up notes that the DNR owns a property on one side, MMC owns a property. Do you have a larger view so I can put this isn't my district, so I don't have all the lands next to it memorized or what's even there. Yeah, but I can't see a perspective on where this is. I mean, just show me just a little sliver of land and say, oh yeah, that's what the diagonal road there is Loomis?
That's not a road.
What is that? Okay, that's the trail. And so
Like, this is between Loomis Road and between Durham Road, kind of on that sliver of Franklin and Muskego. So the
Okay.
northern property there, the very northern part of the screen is actually City of Muskego.
Well, actually, west.
Or west.
Yeah.
Well,
so
Top of this.
we don't have a
up as well as north.
we don't have an overview like some of the other
Yeah.
ones shows where the lot is in comparison to the city or comparison to the district at least. So it's
I don't.
okay. Well,
Ability to pull up a larger map or not?
Property viewer?
Yeah, property viewer. While Regulo's pulling that up, I know there was a conversation while we were meeting with the fire chief about the response times and availability within this southwest part of the city. And he mentioned that they are having discussions currently about relocating a firehouse to this area. And I guess that's a chicken or the egg question. What comes first, the fire department or the residents demanding the fire department? So I don't have a great answer for that, but he did mention there were conversations going on.
I did think about that when I was looking at these proposals, and I'm not sure that moving one solves all the problems we have with the fire department. So and I know you don't know all the ins and outs of this, but I was thinking on, as reading this, it's like, okay, so we have a high need, just moving it, what does that do for the area that it leaves? So we have some things to work out with, how we're going to handle police and fire in this area.
You'll hear about that on the 17th.
Okay.
So that's the piece right there. You can see Loomis Road.
Okay.
DNR, yep.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. Unless, just kind of continue to respond. Alderman Nelson, we will definitely look into the gas pipeline. It didn't come up on our title search, but that wouldn't be the first time. It only goes back 60 or so years, so if it's a really old one, we'll look into it. As far as the PDD, it's not my first love either. Many municipalities utilize it. It requires a lot for us as the developer to provide a tremendous amount of information up front, which is good and bad. I guess we know everything that is to be known when we bring one forward, but it's very expensive and time consuming. We're finding this in a lot of municipalities that are either considering reviewing their zoning codes or haven't looked at them in a long time, is that based on demand, pricing of houses, for many reasons, these things need to be revisited. There's just not a zoning district that meets current demand, therefore the PUD or PDD program, which is what we would propose here and why we're bringing it as such, because it just doesn't fit what's out there currently, but we do believe it fits very well what the market is asking for.
Okay, so
Just
thank,
one question.
you didn't, did you want to be on? Okay, Alderman Wilhelm.
When you do these playground amenities and do you do those during the first phase, or what phase do those come about?
It depends on how large the first phase. A typical phase for us is maybe 40 or so lots. with this type of home and product, we've found that we usually go a little larger because the demand is there to easily do 20 or 30 homes in something like this in a year, and we want to be ready for the next one. Amenities will usually start around the completion of the first phase, just because we know that is a really important reason and draw that people want to live in a neighborhood like this. So I would say for certain, it's no sense in putting it in until we can get roads to it, but it generally starts shortly thereafter, after the first phase is in.
Well, my comment to staff, and this is if this gets approval and the changes are made and if it moves forward, would be that some kind of financial surety for that, because we had a previous one that was very unfortunate. A lot of people were promised a lot of things and it didn't get built. So if staff could make sure that, you know, anytime there's some amenities that are promised, that there's some assurity, that's always appreciated for the residents that are buying into getting something that they think they're going to get. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Roniger, Ms. Obarski. Good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Move on to G5, which is Vanderwall and Associates support for Parkland Acquisition Service. Who's doing this? Everybody leaves.
Sorry.
Is this you, Peggy? Because I don't see Marion. Mr. Eddie, who's doing this?
All right. The update to this project is there's two pieces since the last time this was discussed. At the last Plan Commission meeting on July 22nd, Vanderwall and Associates presented a draft of the Parkland Acquisition Study for review and feedback. Two members of Vanderwall and Associates moderated a discussion of the draft with Plan Commission members soliciting additional input to be incorporated into the subsequent draft. Commission didn't take any action, but they provided several comments which are included on the council action sheet. I'll highlight a few of them. The current comprehensive outdoor recreation plan does not reflect current needs, and it was suggested that either should be updated or amended. It did confirm the need for parkland on the southwest side of the city, although the size and location of that should be determined, still to be determined. And co-locating with existing open space areas could be desirable. A hypothetical park in the center of the city could also be desirable. Potentially, there could be a potential for intergovernmental or intermunicipal cooperation, which included collaboration with the Franklin School District. Plan Commission felt that the scenario I in the study had merit, which includes acquiring land for and improving trails, as well as acquiring land for a new 25-acre neighborhood-style park and improving new or previously planned neighborhood parks. Finally, the discussion of the need to identify the right size parcel in the right location needs to occur quickly. Finally, Vanderwall and Associates will be here at your next meeting on August 17 to solicit input to the session to this project. And then that will be incorporated into the final draft of the report, which will then again be reviewed by Parks Commission and Plan Commission before returning to the Common Council. This is just a status update.
Questions? Alderman Wilhelm.
I guess the question I have for you is, the last development, if they put a park in the development, does that exclude from park impact fees, and how would that affect this particular area as far as park layouts in the plan?
Currently, the park impact fees are not assessed, I don't believe, and Peggy, you can correct me if I'm erring here. I don't believe that putting additional amenities in the site necessarily exempts them from a park impact fee. So they're doing that sort of their own volition, because that's not a public facility, it's a private facility. So they would still be required to contribute park impact fees on a per unit basis.
And so would the park plan recognize that facility because it's public, or would they not? Do you know how they would treat that?
If we were doing an assessment of overall park facilities, we would incorporate that kind of facility as sort of a point of data. But because it's not a public facility, it wouldn't be incorporated as a public, something that the public could
Okay,
use. It's simply a neighborhood basis.
Um, We're going to have some residential input point on this? I mean, I haven't been asked as the alderman of the district, what do you need, what's lacking in your district? And so, I mean, we've got quite a bit going on with this park plan, but without any, like a public hearing on the plan, where it's going to be pretty much together by the time that those inputs from either the council or the residents have a say.
Well, Alderwoman, that's a great question and a good point. The scope of the study has evolved since the original concept of it, and it's moved to where there are a dearth of park facilities rather than internal to the city. So they're not taking a look at areas surrounding here or Pleasant View or some of the other areas that are currently built out. This is pretty much where do we go to finish fixing the need.
Well, one of the needs that I've always seen in the park court plan is a lot of people, as the developer talked about, rather than having everyone have a swing set or something in their backyard, that you have these neighborhood or what's known as tot lots. For areas that have a tot lot for a subdivision or even a neighborhood park nearby, and people that do, even when they have a tot lot, like to have something in their backyard, I'm kind of less inclined to have all the tot lots and more in favor of larger community-sized parks. But our court plan tends to put a lot of emphasis on the smaller tot lots and individual neighborhoods. I like the neighborhood park versus the tot lot idea a little bit more. I think we get more use and more DPW services without spending a lot on a really small park. I guess I don't have anything else on that. Thank you very much.
Mr. City Engineer.
If I could follow up on Mr. Eddy's comment to Alderwoman's first question. This study has prompted us to internally start talking about maybe we need to start thinking about maybe we offer incentives. So if you recall Newman's last development, Ryanwood Manor, we actually used some park impact fees to get a portion of a trail built. Maybe we need to expand our thoughts if there were ever a development where you were trying to provide some incentives. Maybe we could ask them to, make a certain portion a neighborhood park, whereas you are dually providing incentives for a developer and also using some park impact fees and also creating a needed infrastructure. So I think part of the study is going to ask us to start thinking that direction when developments come in, if there's an opportunity for if you will, a win-win situation.
And you guys know me, I've got a little different take on that. We would use a donation of land by the developer to offset our impact fee contribution, rather than giving them money to do it.
Right.
So they would give us the land. We would use that as contribution against our impact fee contribution. Anybody else? Okay, thanks, Mr. Eddy. Move on to G6, an ordinance to amend Municipal Code Chapter 210 signs to provide interim amendments for changeover administration. Before we get into this, I want to commend the planning manager and the director of inspection services who found a problem that we all knew existed, but who decided to fix it. And what you have in front of you is the fix. Mr. Eddy, Mr. Planning Manager.
Okay. The basis of this, is at least on an interim basis, because the UDO rewrite project, which is commenced, will include a rewrite of the sign code. Our current sign code is a little bit out of date and needs a little bit of help, but we're trying to effect a changeover. Inspection Services has for years felt, or at least for the last few years now, felt like they're not really the appropriate body to implement sign code standards that are basically design standards. Most of their work is not design-oriented so much as it's building code references. So we're affecting a changeover so that my department will take over the implementation of the sign code, including sign permits. But some of those changes are reflected in here. Most of the references, just some of the references to building inspector, inspections department, it's the obvious one. We're taking out the architectural review board because that's not technically in my jurisdiction. And this actually was suggested by inspection services as a way to create a greater efficiency of the implementation of sign permits. And then a few minor clarifications and adjustments for the ease of administration of the code itself.
Questions for the plan manager? Is there a motion to approve?
I
Second, then go. If you'd like.
second.
Alderman Wilhelm.
I have a question on page 118, section 3 of the suggested ordinance to adopt. And that references signs and billboards. And then the key word here for me is billboards. I don't know how many of you other districts have billboards, but I am one of the districts that has billboards that residents have wanted to take down for quite some time. Is there some way we can rethink the allowing of billboards in our community? Because you cannot control oftentimes what's placed on them. They're rented advertisements for
Yeah,
different.
that's an excellent question. Way back in the day, long time ago, my first sign ordinance I actually wrote an ordinance that basically prevented billboards. To the extent that that's a thing that we want to do or to pursue, that's something we'll probably consider in the course of the rewrite, of the more comprehensive rewrite. I didn't want to try and touch that subject as yet. We're just trying to get an administrative changeover for now, and then we'll address that down in the subsequent review of the UDO rewrite process. But that's your point is taken. We will.
Hopefully
we will
before another billboard comes.
Yeah,
for approval.
our objective here is to try and change over the administration, but we'll definitely look to
All right,
try and do
thanks.
something about it.
Alderman Barber.
A few years ago, Economic Development tried to take on this whole thing with the Economic Commission to look at the signage issues and found it to be really convoluted as to who did what. So I'm all in favor of this kind of streamlining it to make it, easy for everyone to work through. Do you have any thoughts about inclusion of any kind of economic development analysis with this?
Yeah, we'll attempt to try and codify or clarify what the kind of impact it would be. From my standpoint, we were looking at this strictly from a point of administration. If somebody comes in and a project has already got a master sign program, then they get booted from inspection services down to us, but they accept the application in inspection services, and they walk it down to us, which is ridiculous. Yeah, there's a lot of parts to this, to the current way we do things that are, well, I think the best word to say is convoluted. Anybody needs to have a variance or to increase a sign area or to change the way sign design is created, they go from inspection services, they accept the application, and then they come over to us, and they also have to talk to us. So there's two different departments, moving parts. The only thing that building services or the inspection services department should be involved in is anything specific to building code. So like anything with electric attached to it, they have to go to inspection services. I can't do that. Nobody in my department can do that. That's the only thing that they should be involved in. Everything about signs that matters is related to what we do, and we end up getting involved in it, even though we don't actually currently we don't get credit for it. So we're involved in the review process. The Mosh building, that started in inspection services and then ended up with us, and then went back to inspection services when we were all done. It's not consistent in its administration, and it means there's an awful lot of people have to have their hands involved in this. We're trying to remove several steps to get to an easier administration. And also removing the ARB review means that we're not having a board that effectively, well, to be honest, according to inspection services, basically serves as a rubber stamp. They don't actually do anything on these applications because there's no standards. There's nothing for them to review. So we're trying to eliminate an unnecessary review function to streamline the process. So somebody comes in for a sign permit, we review and issue it. We shorten the review process by several days, if not a couple of weeks, from having all those processes in place.
I'm sure Kelly would like a simpler process as well, but that there is a link there.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
This will also have an unintended benefit. It will hopefully catch senior living as a sign and prevent that from happening again. And there's a lot of grins here. Okay, so there is a motion on the floor. All those in favor of the motion to approve signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. G7 is a consideration of electronic meeting recording policy. Madam Director of Administration.
So what you have in front of you is a draft policy that the Technology Commission has been working on. Basically, the start of this was Alderman Mayor and staff had received a request from a citizen to publish all the audio recordings. As you go through the council action sheet, you'll see currently we are recording most all of the meetings by audio. A couple exceptions to that would be the few that are done video. And then the license committee is the one that I know of right now that's not being recorded. So that would probably be one of the, on a regular basis. So that would probably be one of the bigger ones. We would just want to make sure we record it because this policy says that all will be recorded. And then we did have a few of them. I'm on page 126, section 7. There were some that are more individualized in nature that between staff recommendation and the Technology Commission, the recommendation would be that the meetings would be recorded and would be made available upon request of the same. The other 26 in item section 5 on page 124 and 125, those would all be listed. We did go through a lot of information on this. These audio files can get very large. There's a storage burden on the city side. We did come up with a process where we can record it and then put it up on YouTube, much like we do our council meetings, and not have the burden of the storage. However, we just have to know that that's susceptible to the fact that YouTube might not exist in its current form in the future. But we believe that that would be the best mechanism when you add 26 meetings that happen multiple times a month or year. It gets to be very large in storage, and right now our website is very overburdened by the number of audio and video recordings out there. So that's kind of the overview. I don't know, Alderman Mayor, if you had any feedback on this?
Yeah, I think it's good overall. Just a couple of points. For item 7.01, could we put a time limit on that, an expected time limit when someone could expect to get the recording within reasonable amount of time? Or every effort will be made to supply it within 48 hours or something like that?
That's already in here. Let me just find that for you. I want to say it was 3 days. It was so many business days. Give me just one sec.
I don't recall seeing that in this. Oh, okay.
Down on section 6 on page 125, with the standard being audio recordings, I'm at the second to the last line in 601. It says that we would record the meetings with the standard being audio recordings and publish the recordings on the city's website within 3 business days of the meeting date.
Yeah, so that applies to them being published on the website. Can we
Yep.
put it over by the exception, those that would be supplied on individual request as well?
Oh, yeah, they could be, they're going to get recorded on the day of the meeting. So you really wouldn't have to put a date on that one. These are just the ones that are going to get automatically published, but the ones that are available upon request, they would be available on request the day after they were recorded.
They would be available immediately.
Correct.
Okay,
Yep, because the recording has to take place at the meeting. So there's a very small bit of work that's done on staff's part to basically review the meeting and then do any editing that's necessary to get it in a, if there's a lot of dead spots or a break or something, but we pretty much have all of those things worked out. So I would say it would be available
But still,
immediately.
that's going to take some time, isn't it? Well, possibly?
No.
Okay.
It's just going to be training staff because a lot of different staff run all of the meetings. So it's really just going to be making sure that everyone on staff immediately gets their recording out there and saves it. And most of them that are done in, for sure, the council chambers and the hearing room are done on the recording system. And those go to the, a shared folder on the network immediately.
So they could get them immediately?
Yep.
Immediately after the meeting, those would be available on request?
I'd say the next business day, right? 'Cause
Okay. And then just the recording failure, yeah, I think we all recognize that that could happen, but in that note, could we put a reason for the failure? In other words, the same failure occurring over and over?
So
Like draw a red flag?
we did say that we would note what the reason was.
Failure will be noted.
Yeah, that's in here.
Yeah, it will be noted. I don't see reason, though. I know that, and it could be the same reason over and over. A million reasons is probably acceptable, because it could be a million reasons, but if it's the same thing occurring over and over and over, it should draw a red flag.
I would say repeated failures should draw a red flag. So that's what I meant by it will be noted that it was a failure. I mean, did you want to add that the reason would be posted?
I guess we should be aware of what the reason is, so that if the request comes in, what was the reason, we have an answer. Yes, thank you.
There's a lot of discussion in here about the meeting minutes and how they'll be posted. One thing that I thought might be helpful would be to suggest to add some type of sentence on the minutes website where they show up. What I frequently hear is the minutes aren't posted. And a lot of people don't understand that the recordings are one thing, which can happen immediately, but the minutes don't get posted until after the meeting that they get approved. And sometimes we have boards and commissions that don't meet for quite some time. And then the minutes are lagging for 4 or 6 months for that one particular meeting. And I've seen that happen quite a bit. So if a note could be placed that the minutes are posted after they're approved at the next consecutive meeting, that might help people understand that there hasn't been a meeting since then, and that's why the minutes weren't posted, because they have to be approved first. And it might save a lot of calls and a lot of, hey, they're not putting the minutes up on time.
I
type of
believe
statement.
that's already on the website.
Is it?
Mhm.
I have
Whether
not,
people read them or not,
I have not seen it, and I've been to look at the minutes, but not recently.
Yeah,
so-
it's right on the header, as I recall.
That they're-
Anyway,
okay.
that they're posted after approval by the body, something like that.
Okay, well,
It's
maybe maybe it needs to be in red or underlined, or maybe approval by the body wording isn't quite enough. That makes sense. Maybe just some tweaking of that, if you could look at it.
Understood.
Okay.
A motion to approve? Mayor and Barber, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. G8, this is just an update on the Code of Conduct and the rules of the Common Council. And this is Director of Administration.
So in front of you, last time at the meeting on July 20th, we discussed some changes that needed to be made, some technical corrections that we went through rather quickly from the city attorney, as well as a meeting between Alderwoman Wilhelm and myself. Those things were all held in the minute, and the draft rules and code of conduct are attached. Just wanted to give you them well in advance of that September 7th meeting when you wanted to consider action on those. And I know there was a little bit of question earlier tonight, so I know Alderman Mayor has some comments.
Yeah, I've got quite a few items now that it's approaching a significant milestone of possibly getting passed in a month or so. I would like to meet with Peggy and discuss some things rather than doing it here and stretching things out, and then go from there.
Yeah. At some point, we got to move on. We had three meetings, individual meetings with Alderman Wilhelm, and now you want another one. That's
Yes, sir.
fine, but the whole idea was that everybody would hear everybody else's ideas. And
Well, you want me to
incorporate them at
start?
once.
I can start now if you want.
My point is that we've done this a lot. So no, I think you ought to just meet with Peggy and,
That was my thought as well, but we do still have a month before this is approved, and it is the council's working document right now.
well, I agree with you, Alderman, but out of courtesy to your colleagues, the discussion was to be had months ago rather than when we're about ready to approve it.
We're not about ready to approve it, and what's better, having it approved and having it approved a way that I don't agree with, or bringing it up now when we still have a month to discuss it? And I don't recall,
I think we're talking past each other. Feel free to meet with the director of administration. Alderman Wilhelm.
I would appreciate it the very first time we did this, that we could have aired all of our concerns, but each point in our attempts to do that, we're kind of discouraged, and I'm not sure that every one of the council members has heard every one of the people's concerns. I, for one, wouldn't have minded hearing some more of Alderman Mayer's, but I appreciate the fact that he's trying to, save us some time as well. I still have a concern with an item, and I'd like to air that here publicly. And it's on page 133, and it's section 5, and it's the elected officials, their ability to contact public agencies. Now, I understand that there is the, this isn't trying to restrict the freedom of anyone or infringe on our constitutional rights, because it supposedly is allowing us to act as a citizen. My concern is the right to communicate in a legal fashion should be allowed in alderperson. It helps us in our duties, and I don't know of any other community that has censorship in the form of gathering information to do our duties. The way it's currently worded is we can act as a citizen, but not, in capital letters, as a council, commission, or board member. It says that we should curb individual communications with other agencies, and it's titled Public Agencies is the headline. The law document that I pulled up for the definition of a public agency is every city, county, state, federal office, every officer, every institution, educational, correctional, every department, division, board, commission, and anyone that provides services or recommendations to the public or other such agencies. So if this says that as an alderman, I am not allowed to, or being discouraged and have to curb, and only can talk as a citizen to other agencies, we need a definition what our public agencies are, because this basically tells me I can't talk to someone on a board and commission. Or I can't talk to someone in the education department or on the library board. Those are all public entities. And I just think that it is a complete censorship of our ability to gain information. I have no problems with living with, some type of code of conduct, but I think we need to be allowed to get information freely and assist without infringing on our ability to do so. And if it doesn't change, and we are going to really mean totally what it says, then I would like to know a process on which email account we're supposed to use, and I'd like to see that set up and spelled out. Because if you're telling me I can do it as a citizen, and I get a constituent call asking me for something, and I say, well, I'll take care of that as a citizen, do I use my government email? No, I'm supposed to be doing it as a citizen. So then I have to use my private email. So if I'm using my private email as an alderman, am I switching hats? Do I now have my citizen hat on? And if I have my citizen hat on and I'm speaking only as a citizen, I am no longer an elected official, and then my question is no longer a public record, and I don't think that's right. I think that if it's a alderman asking a question on behalf of a constituent or just asking an information gathering question, then I think we should be allowed to use our city email account. If you don't want us to use our title, then you have to tell us a process of our deleting our title. And I also had looked up an image, and I'm going to use my cell phone because I sent this to me myself so I could reference this. And it says that the Parks Commission contacted an agency, and then the chairman contacted the DNR and a conservation biologist and the natural area supervisor. So this is all in the minutes of the Park Commission. So now you're going to be telling our boards and commissions that this process has to change. So we need to really define this and spell this out on how we're going to be able to curb anyone from talking and making those conversations. So if we could flush that out a little bit before the next meeting, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Alderman Nelson.
Ms. Steno, earlier tonight, or prior to the meeting, you were very, again, I appreciate you meeting with the citizen constituent in my district. If this was passed, would that have been something where I would have had to go to the mayor to get approval to do?
No.
Okay, because that was one, I mean, in this, because, you know, some of the feedback I'm, getting from some other people out there is that we're going to be, we're kind of stymied with our abilities to do this work. And that's why that example tonight was very important to me, because not only do I appreciate your time, which I do, very valuable, I think it was very productive, but I just want to know in the future if that was something that I had to go and get cleared to the mayor first, because that's going to create levels of.
So that would be the exact example that we would be encouraging. Your citizen had a problem, and you connected that person to me, and I'm going to take care of the problem. Sometimes Alderman Barber calls me and or emails me and says, hey, can you take care of this? And I say, sure. Or sometimes Alderwoman Hanneman will say, hey, can you just let me know how that goes? Take care of it and let me know? Sure. So we can do all of those things. But the example that you provided tonight about the citizen, that's exactly what should happen. Staff, you would let staff know that there's a problem, and then staff finds out all the facts and digs into it, gets all the research done, talks to whatever departments internally, staff internally, and then comes back with an answer. So that would be the way we would encourage it to work.
Thank you. That's the first part. Appreciate it. Second thing, going with the attire. Okay, now this is summer. It's hot, August, whatever. Is what I'm wearing okay? Is this acceptable?
What in the policy would not make it acceptable?
Could you say it again?
What would not make it acceptable that you see written?
It's a logo right here.
But remember, we talked about that? We talked about not a specific business.
Over here it says Brown Deer Park. If what I'm wearing is acceptable, that's all I want to know. I think it is.
I mean, I guess, again, read the words and then just let me know what you think wouldn't fit. But I
The
think it-
logo part, that's just, I mean, I'm just looking at Oakley as a brand. I'm not sponsored by Oakley to do anything.
But we
In
already-
fact, they don't even recognize my name.
Fair.
And then I got the Brown Deer Park. I mean, I'm just want to make sure, I mean, I don't want to sound petty, but I'm going to be, just because I want to make sure that in the future I don't show up and I get somehow crazy sanctioned and flogged by Barber or something. I want to make sure that everything is
So I think we talked about, and the reason we added the, with advertising or logos of specific businesses is because the Nike was the example last time, so Oakley is no different than that. If you were here with some business name, I'm not going to use the common one.
Like Central Bark or something?
No, I'm not going to say that.
We won't say
But-
that or wearing
but-
shorts. yeah.
But you would be advertising for that business, probably
Fair enough.
not
Thank you.
necessarily.
I'll yield.
Alderman Mayor.
As long as we're airing some of these, as long as we're airing some of these, Peggy, on the part about abstaining, I thought we went through that and I thought we agreed that it was, that no one can take someone's right to abstain away. And I think the city councilor even concurred with that, but yet it's back in here that it is strongly discouraged.
It's not strongly discouraged because we removed the word strongly. But if you just read the last sentence, it says, such abstention shall be included in the minutes. A member who participates in the debate, but does not voice that he or she is abstaining due to a conflict, is discouraged from abstaining from voting. So, again, council rule, council choice, but this isn't taking anybody's rights away. They can still do it. But when somebody does have some kind of an issue and they participate in the entire debate, council just has to decide if they want them to be able to abstain from the vote.
I don't think the council has that right to do that.
Again, it's not taking anybody's right away. They can still do it. It's a best practice, so it's certainly the council's decision.
That's it for now, yeah.
Regarding that abstention, the way I believe the law was written, and I don't have it in front of me, but it said something like, you can't take that away unless the council adopts the policy. So once we adopt this, now we're making it so it's sort of a no-no. So that's how it's written. So right now, the law allows it. It's an acceptable method. It's no different than, saying the mayor has the right to veto. The aldermen have, we're not trying to take away a veto privilege. We're just asking that we have the right to abstain. But once we adopt this, now we're setting a different policy for ourselves. And I wanted to go back to Alderman Nelson's comment about his particular issue, and Peggy said that's exactly how we're hoping to handle an issue as you come to me. When I go back to my contacting a public agency, you have a question, you come to us, we'll take care of it. I think we all have been on the side where there might be someone who you're asking the question to who is not on the side of your question. So in that case, we have no policy that says, okay, I don't think she needs to get an answer to that question, or I don't think, so I personally like to have the information firsthand. I think it prevents a lot of, the whole thing about first, second, third hand. And I'd like to know what we do when someone disagrees that you should get that question answered. I really think this is a really important part of our job. I don't know what other municipality or government takes away the ability to gather the information to do the elected official's job, and that concerns me. We should have the right to gather any information we need to prep, and this will not allow that. And it also takes it away from other boards and commission members.
Anything else? Okay.
Wait, I'm trying.
Oh, Alderman Barber, just push it one.
Going off. Anyway, I personally do not have a problem with the language in Section 5. I kind of know how to talk to people. I know how to work within a system. I know how to be both an alderman as well as a citizen. I know we've discussed this a number of times, but I just want it on the record that I'm perfectly content with the language that's there. And I don't think it limits me in any way other than the way I've been acting as a matter of procedure. So I'm comfortable with that.
Okay, with that, we'll move on to G9, which is to table, request from staff is to table this to the submission of staff. Is there such a motion? No, this is it. Yep, yep. Yeah, I want to give him some wiggle room. In case he doesn't get it done by then. All right. Is there a motion to table this to the meeting of the 17th? Is there a second? Second. Alderman Wilhelm.
Didn't we say we were going to bring it back on the 7th of September previously?
G9.
Oh, okay. I must have missed that. I'm sorry.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. G10, a resolution to amend the city's investment policy. Who's doing that? Is there a second? Second. Wilhelm and Nelson. All those in favor of the motion to amend, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. G11 is the financial report. Any highlights? Mr. Director of Finance.
I think the report speaks for itself, but I'd be happy to answer any questions if the council has them.
Any questions? Is there a motion to receive and place on file? Oh, I'm sorry. Alderman Wilhelm.
Paul, I looked in the section where it says Capital Improvement Fund. Resources have not yet been received. Most of the expenditures related to projects started in 2020. Most significant Marquette Avenue construction. Where are we at with the funding for the Marquette? Because it says, it brings that to the attention, so.
The Marquette Avenue funding is being funded by a transfer out of the Special Assessment Fund of $600,000 that took place last year. And so it's in part of fund balance. And then there were some contributions on the part of the two developers, and those have not yet been billed because I understand that all of the terms of the agreement with those developers haven't been met.
Okay, so when you're saying resources have not yet been received, are you talking about the city's resources or the developer's resources? When you say most of the expenditures related to projects significantly Marquette Avenue construction, what are we missing here to get the project funded or?
Relative to the Marquette Avenue project, we're not missing anything that should be here at this point in time. As I said, the contribution from the developers hasn't been billed yet, so that will be a resource that comes later.
Okay, so in the future, could you designate out the resources from the developer? Because right now it seems like the city hasn't done their part. It just says the expenditures related and so it's not very clear.
I'll attempt to make it clearer in the future.
Okay, and then the other one is there are fire, library, police, and transportation fees that can be transferred out. However, Common Council has not yet directed where they should go now that the debt service has been retired. Is that something that you will be bringing forward for us to take care of on that?
There has been discussion of that at the Finance Committee meeting, and the Finance Committee is waiting for staff to bring forward a report on available resources in multiple funds and suggestions. But staff is working on a capital plan for multiple years. We expect that to come forward in the near future, and then Finance will make a recommendation to the Common Council.
Okay, because in the transportation fees, there were many, many months ago, I believe Steve Taylor was still on the council. The council directed that this report about the transportation impact fees come forward and to consider Marquette Avenue as a possibility to be able to collect based on the new development. I have heard nothing since that motion was made by the council, and this line refers to transportation fees. Are those the same types of transportation fees you're talking about? Or, because there's transportation impact fees and then there's other transportation. So is this encompassing all types or specific?
I believe the discussion in the memo at that point is talking about the development fund, and in the development fund would be the transportation impact fee. So it would be referring to the impact fee, transportation impact fee that is in that fund.
Do you remember, because I don't, who the consultant was that was supposed to be working on that way back over here?
Working on the,
Transportation impact fees to see if Marquette could qualify?
the impact fee study is being, is in the hands of Rupert Milkie. And they have been having, Rupert Milkie has been having conversations with staff about that impact fee study.
Okay. They are really long on this impact fee. So each time we do this with them, it takes a very, very, very long time. We've had that.
That's a very
in the past.
complicated subject. Before, I'm not interrupting you, I'm getting you an answer.
Okay.
But I do have to tell you that a contract would not be signed, nor a purchase order issued unless there was appropriate appropriations assigned to the expenditure. So Marquette Avenue is funded, it is contracted, it is being built, and it is being paid for. Regardless of where the funds are coming, they're already designated. With that, Ms. Stino.
So that was the first thing I was going to say was that the finance director signs off on something, and state law requires him to have provisions in place to handle the liability of any contracts, and those are all taken care of. In regard to the impact fee issue, it is not Rupert Milkie that's holding this process up. Mainly it's me, and the reason it's me is because there were a number of projects in that transportation fee that were not getting done and other ones that need to get done, and we need to get our ducks in a row before we do that, because this is a long-term important item that we have to be able to prove to anybody who pays those impact fees what those costs are going to. So the delay is on my part. I needed to get up to speed, and now we're trying to work through the project. So it's not Rupert Milkie that's
I
the
am
problem.
really glad to hear that someone's finally taking on this transportation impact fee, and I know you'll give great detail and attention to it. So I'm like that. And my reason for bringing this up is not to say it's not funded. It's for clarity for people reading the document. And it's also to assist our budget, so that if we qualify for this, we might be able to move some over, and that would be really appreciated as well, so.
So, and then if I could just one more comment on that. So Marquette, in the draft study, it was something like 9%, 6 or 9% that it could be covered. But because of the timeline and the fact that the project already started, there really, and the fact that we have it funded already, there would be really no motivation to use it for this purpose. But don't worry about that, because we have plenty of needs that the transportation fees are going to go to in
I
the
know,
future.
but-
So it was also a matter of timing, because best practice is to have those fees in place before the project starts. It can be in the planning stages, but before we start doing the capital work, the best practice is to have that
I'm
in
glad
place.
you're on it, so you can catch a few of those, because that's important. Thanks.
All those in favor of the motion is placed on file, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Alderman Barber, second.
Okay, we're going to move on. We have a closed session, but we'll move on to licenses. H1, Alderman Nelson.
First one, Hamilton Smith will be hold for appearance again for a no-show. The next.
How many
Southport-
strikes before you're out?
I'm thinking 3. We're going to go off of baseball. Madam Clerk?
What you have done in the past, which you might want to think about going back to doing, is place it on hold until the applicant contacts the clerk's office.
I like that better. Okay, hold until Mr. Hamilton Smith contacts the clerk's office. Approved Southbrook Church, Acevedo, Baird, Damask. Ellis will be hold for appearance to correct application. The rest on page 1 is approved. And page 2, all approved.
Is there a second?
Second.
By the way, I wasn't I wasn't trying to be nasty, I just wondered how many, if they don't show an interest in getting their license, why should we, that was my thing. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Vouchers and payroll, aye. Is there a motion approving city vouchers ending date August 1st, 2020, in the amount of $1,383,915.43, and payroll dated July 30th, 2021, in the amount of $461,937.73, and payments of various payroll deductions in the amount of $463,848.73, and sitting matching payments, and estimated payroll for August 13th estimated at $408,000, and payments of the various payroll deductions estimated at $239,000, plus city matching payments.
So move.
Second.
Barber and Mayor. Madam Clerk.
Alderman Mayor.
Aye.
Alderwoman Wilhelm.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderman Nelson.
Aye.
Motion carries 5 ayes, no noes, no absent. I'm sorry. Thank you very much, Mr. City Attorney. 4 ayes, no noes, 1 absent, no abstentions. With that, we've reached the end of tonight's broadcast day. We will now cancel the YouTube broadcast and audio recording so that we may go into closed session. So with that, before we stop that, is there a motion to enter closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Stat 1985 sub 1 sub G? Confer with legal counsel for the common council is rendering advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to subject litigation, and to re-enter open session in the same place thereafter to act on such matters.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk.
Alderman Nelson.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderwoman Wilhelm.
Aye.
Alderman Mayor.
Aye.
Motion carries. We are in closed session.